welcome to SVG TV's news for Wednesday, March 15th, 2023. I'm Triska Campbell with the details. St. Vincent and the Grenadines on Tuesday, March 14th, 2023 celebrated National Heroes and Heritage Day under the theme Appreciating Our Identity, Preserving Our Heritage with Pride. A number of activities were held across the country in celebration of the special day in honor of SVG's first and only national hero, Paramount Chief Joseph Chatelier. To kickstart the day's activities was the annual wreath-laying ceremony held at the obelisk here at Dorsetshire Hill. Addressing the ceremony, director of the Garifuna Heritage Foundation, Ziola Ellis Brown, said the Garifuna spirit of resilience and resistance must always be an inspiration to persons across the world. Ellis Brown said the Garifuna Heritage Foundation proposes a day of remembrance for those who were exiled from Urumé, their homeland, to be declared with the suggested date of March 9th.
Urumé and from each other. It is remembered in daily life, in songs and in spiritual ceremonies. Our spirit of resistance and resilience and our story of survival should always be an inspiration to our people and to the world. The Garifuna Heritage Foundation therefore proposes 1. That a day of remembrance of the exile be declared in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We propose that the date March 9th be researched and confirmed. 2. That the island of Baliso, which is currently privately owned, be acquired by the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We propose that this island be developed by relevant governmental and non-governmental entities as a national park, to be used as a sacred heritage site. And 3, that in line with point 3 of the CARICOM Reparations Commission 2013 10-point plan, there should begin the work of structuring a proposal for an Indigenous Peoples Development Program for the Kalinago and Garifuna people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Minister of Tourism and Culture Carlos James noted that going forward, the challenges facing SVG will only become more acute as the world changes, and that a greater level of resilience must be built among the people to tailor our responses to the modern challenges ahead.
Delivering reparatory justice means uprooting the legacies of colonialism. Reparations are not charity or aid, but an acknowledgement of responsibility. Fellow citizens, let us use this occasion for mature and sober reflection, recommitting ourselves in service to our country and resolving to do better than we've done before. It is a period which requires domestic action of togetherness, solidarity and love, bipartisan support, and civic engagement beyond the political theatrics and opportunism, containing our natural biases and allowing the flow of discourse in the marketplace of ideas. The work of building a thriving democracy is present all around us, and the spirit of Chatelier is alive and flourishing among our people. We have a duty to protect the legacy of Chatelier and all the hard-working Vincentians who laid the foundation before us.
Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Salz in his address vocalized that in discussion with the National Heroes Advisory Committee, they have made findings and recommendations for 4 other national heroes, namely George Augustus McIntosh, Ebenezer Theodore Joshua, Robert Milton Cato, and John Parmenas Eustace. Prime Minister Dr. Afghan Salz said they are also looking at women who could be considered for the status of national hero in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And we have reflected on these, and we have discussed them publicly. And a few weeks ago, I had yet another conversation with the chairperson of the National Advisory Committee on National Heroes, distinguished lawyer and patriot René Batiste, that we should look perhaps at a few other names, including women who have not yet emerged. And various names have been suggested, including the person whom history suggests was Chateauyeur's favorite spouse. But there are other women whose names have been suggested. It is not my place today to speak to those. Because we have, in the new batch, I want to suggest to our country that we examine the specific case of one or more women, so we do not give the appearance at all that the question of national heroes is essentially a patriarchal exercise without regard for women who may well rise to the status of national hero.
On the suggestion of acquiring the island of Baliso, which is privately owned, Prime Minister Gensau said that the matter is under serious consideration.
I want to say to the owners, that we will do our valuation. And if, in the case of all the priorities and the availability of the resources, that we cannot come to a private treaty, a private agreement, well, the law gives provision to acquire at a particular price. And if the acquisition is done and you're not satisfied about the price, well, there is a juridical process where that can be done. And we can decide, if we get to that stage, all what we are doing with it. Or indeed, from the beginning, we could have some idea once we proceed with that policy. But it's a matter which deserves very serious consideration. What is clear though, I see advertisements that it is to be sold for $30 million. That's fine, you can put any number. You can put 50, you can put 100. The island next door, Isle de Cat, which is owned by the Mitchell family, they have a price of 50-odd million US for quite a while. There have been no takers. But I want to say it plain. I will not preside over a cabinet which agrees for the sale of that property to any individual who just wants to have a house there to enjoy himself on Baliso. And that if it were to be sold to any individual developer, the conditions under which, the alien landholding conditions under which would be required, well, given the national importance of Baliso, it is unlikely that you're going to have purchasers. So I see a lot of people get excited when these things go on Facebook, but I'm not a man who is easily excited with these sorts of things. I know what the law says. I know what we would do and what we would allow to be done and what we would not allow to be done.
People from across St. Vincent and the Grenadines gathered at the Greg's playing field on Heroes Day, March 14th, to celebrate SVG's national hero Joseph Chartier and the Garifuna heritage and culture. After a 2-year absence of the festival, yesterday was bigger and better with different performances, local foods and beverages, arts and crafts, and a display of indigenous huts and clothing. Addressing the large gathering, area representative Saboto Caesar said the spirit of the Garifunas was being felt at the event and thanked the organizers of the festival.
Over the last 2 weeks, persons were gathering their bamboo. They were cutting their branches, and many carpenters came and worked night after night to ensure that we could replicate some of the huts that we see here this evening. Let us give a special round of applause to all those who helped to put the huts together. And if you notice, in my hand, I have my paper bag with my madongo and my dukuna, because I don't want later when I'm looking for my food, they tell me all done. So please, we are here to enjoy the culinary arts. We are here to share in a very reflective moment, but we must also appreciate that it is not just about celebrating and reflecting, it is about preparing. And in our preparation to address some of the challenges which are ahead, we must remember that we stand on the shoulders of giants. The shoulders of greats like Fanny Gregg, like Duvalier, and Joseph Chartier. They fought, they resisted, and because of their resilience, we are a free people today.
Leader of the opposition, Dr. Godwin Friday, also addressed the opening ceremony and was pleased with the show of support at the Greg's Garifuna celebration.
And I'm so happy to see that there are so many people here in this village, because, you know, it's not just people from Greg's and the surrounding area. The whole country coming to Greg's. They're coming here to celebrate. And isn't it wonderful? For the last couple of years, we all had to be cooped up in our house and separating from one another like we're strangers. Now we are a community again. And so we have to enjoy that, embrace it, and be part of something bigger than each one of us. This festival is something like that. And it comes out today, one of the most auspicious, one of the most important days in our calendar. It is the day we celebrate the heroic sacrifice of Joseph Chartier and the Garifuna people in building this country as one that is proud of its heritage, that will defend what is true and what is right, and that will stand up for self-determination and sovereignty, that will defend our land even against impossible odds. That is the spirit that we as Vincentians are made of. And so I want to congratulate you for all that you've done here so far. I've been into some of the huts and tasted some of the food. The only thing is, you could only eat so much in one day, and all of it tastes good. So thank you so much for this wonderful activity. Let us make it a signature event for the entire country, not just for this community. And from what I heard Minister Caesar saying, is that it started small and it has grown. So give yourselves a pat on the back for that, but also set yourself a bigger target, that we're going to make this one of the biggest events in the whole country in the entire year.
Here's a highlight of some of the activities from the Greg's Garifuna Festival.
Chatoe, Chatoe, Chatoe. A warrior by birth he was, a Garifuna by blood. This world has no chains to keep us bound. Free African and indigenous American ancestry that originated in the Caribbean islands of St. Vincent. They speak the Garifuna language. Maburiga, I come home from America. If you see money, if you see banknotes, if you see bank drop, if you see greenback, if you see so much cash.
A bullet in my gun. Oh, I got eyes in the back of my head.
While it was not the usual large gathering scene over the years, the Fancy National Heroes Day Festival also attracted a wide cross-section of the Vincentian public who enjoyed a variety of local dishes and cultural performances. Addressing the gathering, Area Representative Montgomery Daniel welcomed the visiting Garifunas to Uromi, their ancestral homeland.
I do so because I remember quite well that in my very early youthful days, my great-grandmother, as I took lunch to her on a Sunday, told me a lot of stories. And one Sunday, she indicated to me, she said, son, my grandpa, he gone. He never come back. What was she saying? She said, the white man no good. The white man take grandpa and gone. He never come back. And here we are today with our Garifuna brothers from Belize, Guatemala, or Honduras. And I do not know whether or not my great-grandpa landed in Belize, Guatemala, or Honduras. And if he did, of course, we share common kinship. I do not know. We need to establish a genealogy. But I'm happy that you have made a journey and you have come back to Uromi, your homeland. A place that we offer you that distinct welcome.
Here's a look at some of the highlights of the activities from the Fancy Garifuna Festival.
Warigati Buiti binafi Idabia binafili Magaretina Warigati Idabiage.
Camp Life by Maxwell Francis. 1, 2, 3. If anybody asks me about Camp Life, me, I will tell them it's sweet. If anybody asks me about Camp Life, me, I will tell them me want to repeat. From the time they say evacuation, me bags on pack and ready. as we wait on evacuation order and transportation for come free.
Children home and abroad, I hear the voice of my ancestors calling. Come home, come home, children home and abroad. Don't forget your history, don't forget humanity.
On radio this morning, Prime Minister Dr. Afghan South said the National Heroes Day celebrations have grown by leaps and bounds over the years, noting that the attendance at the wreath-laying ceremony at Dorset Hill was one of the largest they have seen in years by locals and representatives from the Garifuna in the region. The Prime Minister said he was also pleased with the number of community activities across the island.
This is what leadership at both at the national level and at the community level. What happens when everybody assumes personal responsibility for something and at the same time take collective ownership of it.
Yes.
You know, years ago in 2010, our election campaign, I'm talking ULP election campaign, I exhorted our supporters to own the party. I urged Vincentians to own the government, own the country. Because some people behave as though, even though they're born and bred here, that they don't have a deep commitment. But we are seeing that commitment growing by leaps and bounds. Johnny P., there's a heightened sense of nationalism. Yes. There's always a good sense of island belonging. You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
An inward look and an outward gaze.
Yes.
And the contradictions therein were contained within person and persons and resolved or muted or not resolved, as the case may be, the contradictions between the inward look and the outward gaze. But there is a sense of history of our country increasingly being seen through the prism of our own eyes. And what is beautiful is that it's not only what people talk about, but what is in their hearts and minds which they don't talk about. And I use the words of the poet. Heard melodies are sweet, those unheard are sweeter.
The government is moving ahead with its appeal against the ruling handed down on Monday, March 13, 2023 by High Court Judge Justice Eco Henry in the vaccine mandate case, which was won by the public servants and their union representatives who were challenging its constitutionality and legality. Justice Henry ruled that, among other things, the action taken under the government's vaccine mandate to dismiss public servants who failed to take the COVID-19 jab was unconstitutional and illegal. On NBC Radio earlier today, Prime Minister Dr. Afghan South said that the government's lawyers were advised to file a formal notice of appeal and an application to stay or hold the execution of the judgment while the appeal process takes place.
We are satisfied that what we did as the government was right, was proper, was legal, was constitutional. And we consider that the judgment of the law and trial judge is wrong. And we had been properly advised on this by the senior counsel, not only in this case Anthony Astafan, but advised by former judges, retired judges, including of the Court of Appeal, advised by academicians, professors at the University of the West Indies. So the first thing is that a judgment by a single judge is not, we're not just going to accept that. We have to have it properly ventilated before the Court of Appeal, or even further if necessary. And you know, Johnny P., shouldn't come as a news. I had said that very early, that I think that whoever didn't prevail at the with the judge of first instance at the High Court, that they would appeal. And that's what is being done in this case.
Prime Minister Gonsalves noted that the matter is of critical public importance, not only for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, but across the region.
There are senior lawyers calling our lawyers and calling me, including retired jurists. And they're posing questions beyond the actual case itself, but connected to the case. That is to say, is this a matter not better left to the Parliament and the authorities, the executive authorities, in respect of a pandemic? Because the law is there which provides for that. And whether if we can't act, no government can act in the measured way in which we acted.
Yes.
What you're going to do? Allow a pandemic to rip and kill people hither and thither, including children in schools, or expose them to the danger of long COVID? We are satisfied that we acted properly. That is to say, the government, legally, scientifically, and in the interest of the public. And we have gone through this over and over again. And that everybody accepts that what we did, the manner in which we handled COVID, we saved lives and livelihoods.
The Prime Minister said that he also does not believe that the government did, or what the government did with its vaccine policy offended the country's constitution.
And obviously, the public servants and teachers and others who made the application and their lawyers think otherwise. But that's okay, no, Johnny P. There's a process. We'll have it resolved through the process.
Right.
Huh?
Yeah, okay. Right.
And we continue with all our work as per usual, while this matter is being resolved. And you have to ask for a stay, and I think it would be reasonable to expect a stay in the execution of the judgment, because otherwise it would mean that it would make a practical mockery of an appeal.
Right.
Mm-hmm. You see where I'm coming from?
Yes, PM, yes.
But that's a matter for the lawyers and the court to which the government lawyers would be going to seek a stay. Mm-hmm. As you know, our lawyers had indicated upon the judge making the orders on Monday that they gave oral indication of they would be making an application for a stay and also to file a notice of appeal.
Meanwhile, on Boom FM today, lawyer for the government, Anthony Astafan, said he was very surprised by the ruling. However, they have an obligation professionally to review the reasons which the judge gave on Monday for her decision and to advise the government on a way forward, and that Prime Minister accepted their advice to appeal the matter.
What exactly in that judgment are you appealing?
Everything.
Be a bit more specific.
Well, we do not agree with the judge's findings on every single matter that she ruled against us on. The constitutionality of the special measures, the issue of the right to be heard, reasonably required, proportionality, deprivation of pensions, all of those that she ruled against us are, how should I put it, critically important constitutional question. that needs to be determined by a higher court. As I said in one of my early statements, it could not possibly be that a case of that importance with regional implications, because I've been getting messages from the region. What are the implications of this judgment? Do you have a copy? We need to see it. This is going to affect the way we have to deal with another infectious disease, another COVID crisis that may come. And I keep telling them, we don't have the judgment yet. We just have a synopsis of the reasons given by the judge. And based on that, we were able to advise the government that it's imperative on the merits and in the public interest to appeal the matter.
So you don't have the specifics thereby of the judgment, correct?
Well, we have the specifics of the reasons she gave on Monday, but we don't have the written judgment yet. But you don't need the written judgment if a judge spends an hour giving the reasons why she's ruled against us. And the media in St. Vincent has referred to it as a slam dunk victory. And we have the reasons given to her. Notes were taken of the reason. The legal team discussed it. We had 2 Zoom meetings after the delivery of the judgment before we made a decision to advise the government on the way forward. And we can't wait because this is a matter of critical importance and it's now an urgent one based on some of the orders the judge made. We can't wait.
As Stephen said, they were hoping to file the appeal motion today. However, that was not possible, but they are hoping it will be done by Friday. In a telephone interview with SVG TV News on Monday after the ruling was handed down, lawyer for the claimants, Jomo Thomas, said while the government has a right to appeal, it will be unwise to do so, noting that he is very confident that any court of appeal will uphold Justice Henry's decision.
The court has ruled, and normally in a democracy, when the court rules, the other sections of government should honor that court, and that's what we intend to push for. That's what we intend to fight for. That's what we intend to do. So don't bother with Prem Gonzalez that he's going to appeal. That's just rhetoric. I am absolutely convinced that if he were to go to the Court of Appeal, the Court of Appeal would uphold Justice Henry's decision, and wherever else he intends to go, the court would appeal. That appellate court would uphold Justice Henry's decision. Justice Henry's decision, as we knew it and as we argued in the case and as we were vindicated, is very, very strong and grounded in the law.
Dominic Ross, a 56-year-old businessman of Paul's Avenue, has been arrested and charged with the offenses of assault and grievous bodily harm. The police say investigations reveal that the accused assaulted a 43-year-old teacher of Evesham by striking her to the right side of her face with his hands at Heritage Square in Kingston at about 12:05 p.m. on March 11th. The defendant is also accused of unlawfully and maliciously inflicting grievously bodily harm on a 35-year-old insurance broker of Redemption Shops by striking him about his face with his hands, causing his nostril to be fractured in the same incident at Heritage Square. The accused appeared at the Serious Offences Court today, Wednesday, March 15, 2023, where he pleaded guilty to the charge of assault and not guilty to grievous bodily harm. Station bail was continued and he was ordered not to contact the virtual complainants. The matters were adjourned and transferred to the Kingston Magistrate Court for continuation on April 11th. In other news now, Minister of the Public Service, Consumer Affairs and Sports, Frederick Stevenson, is encouraging Vincentians to become more familiar with their rights as consumers. The Agency for Public Information said Minister Stevenson made the statement while speaking at an exhibition held earlier today at the Ministerial Building car park in commemoration of World Consumer Rights Day. Minister Stevenson said today's exhibition is another activity that seeks to promote consumer rights and empower consumers. He said that the Consumer Protection Act forms part of the government's commitment to the advancement of the consumer interests. At today's exhibition, representatives from the Consumer Affairs Department, the Bureau of Standard and Energy Unit, the SVG Postal Services, and the National Telecommunication Regulatory Commission's NTRC were on hand to help sensitize the public on the rights as consumers. As the dry season approaches, 20 North Leeward farmers are monitoring the impact of vegeta grass on soil stability and groundwater retention in their farms. With training, technical assistance, and supplies provided through Hunter Earth's farmland restoration project sponsored by the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Conservation Fund, the farmers have established vetiver hedgerows on their farmlands, at the same time restoring some historic vetiver plantings for the purpose of soil conservation. A news release said from within 5 months of planting vetiver hedgerows project, farmers have observed less soil erosion and look forward to increasing benefits as the plants become fully established. Project participants Renrick John has planted vetiver strategically to address land slippage below his residence in Bottom Village, Trumoka, and according to the news release, within just 2 months he noticed the effective performance of the plants in preventing topsoil runoff. He is encouraging others to plant vetiver to address severe erosion that has occurred with residential development in his neighborhood. With seeds supplied by the project, farmers have also reaped various crops harvested in the initial stages of the installation, such as watermelons, cabbage, cucumbers, tomatoes, okra, and lettuce. The news release further noted that as the systems establish over the next year and beyond, the farmers will be monitoring crop yields, which are expected to increase due to the improved water retention and soil integrity that the vetiver root systems provide. Van Bernharry, CEO of the St. Vincent and the Grenadines Conservation Fund, toured several sites and noted that the enthusiasm of the participant farmers towards the training and practice of the systems. Harry said that the project has created a legacy that could remain in North Leeward area for generations to come, noting that it's an example to the rest of SVG and can expand out to other countries in the region. 34 participant farmers from Peterborough, Rosebank, Belmont, Trumoka, Coles Hill, and the Belle Isle were trained in the vetiver systems technology through the hand-to-hand farmland restoration project from June to August of 2022. The Francophone countries and cultural will be on display as the St. Vincent Grammar School hosts its annual French Spelling Bee and Expo at the Methodist Church Hall on Monday, March 20th, 2023, beginning at 9 a.m. The school says this year's staging will include a new feature, a showcase of fashion, thus the modified brand, the National French Spelling Bee Expo and Fashion Show. According to Junior Degrio, French teacher and coordinator of the event, 8 schools, an increase from last year's 3 schools, will be participating in this year's activity. They are the Bishop's College Kingstown, Central Leeward Secondary, Georgetown Secondary, Sinclair Dakin Secondary, St. Joseph Convent Kingstown, the St. Vincent Girls High School, defending champions, the St. Vincent Grammar School, Union Island Secondary, the Defile des Modes French for Fashion Show will form part of the official opening of the day. 14 schools will exhibit national wear of various French countries. The organizers say a special presentation of awards to 7 outstanding French teachers will be the highlight of the first part of the day. A news release said following the official ceremony, students will participate in the preliminary round of the Spelling Bee, with the top 4 schools advancing to the final round. On display at the expo will be food from French countries, as well as replicas of French mementos, etc. The first French Spelling Bee and Expo was held in 2019.